Hello everyone, this is BNH247, and this is going to be the Cars 1 speedrun. There's a lot of kind of broken and glitchy things about this game that need to be explained. Credit to the backwards lap glitch, which was found by Uial, or Uial. I also turned off the music because it'll copyright on YouTube. So the concept of the backwards lap glitch is that you are essentially just trying to reach the checkpoint that is closest to the starting line that is behind the starting line or finish line. And the way you do this is that you can ignore the wrong way teleport by backing up and hitting the emergency brake, but you only have a few seconds to move in between each wrong way. So you have to space out your distance and the timing of your emergency brake very well, otherwise you'll end up dropping the backwards lap glitch. You'll notice that I'll take longer stretches and shorter stretches. This is because the faster you are able to engage the final stretch or the final wrong way, the faster the timer will tick down, and you'll end up saving a few seconds each time you do this successfully. So for the first two laps here, you just have to make it past that last set of cones, mainly the third one touching the fourth one. And then for the final lap on that course, you have to just back up once and then reach the dirt patch. Not all courses have a quick third lap, but I did check into all of them, and the ones that are going to be shown in this run are the only ones that I found and that Uial found. Now, there are a select handful of tracks where all you have to do is just barely make it past the starting line. So I tend to call these free courses because you didn't have to really remember where you had to go specifically in order to engage the last checkpoint, because the checkpoint for some of these courses is just simply behind the starting line, like directly behind it. And again, you'll notice that I'm taking shorter stretches to make the countdown tick faster.
Hello, fine sir.
As far as routing the game, it's fairly simplistic. You need the trophy points in order to unlock the big races, and then completing all the big races completes the game. So we just take which ones are the fastest or the most optimal and skip some of the long ones, like collecting a bunch of postcards and just different courses that might not have a BLG, backwards lap glitch. So by some miracle, I didn't drop a BLG in this run, but if you do drop one, you get teleported pretty far forward past the starting line, and on some courses, it just makes finishing the course just completely unviable because you're so far ahead, you would lose like 30 to 40 seconds, and you pretty much have to restart the race if you wanted to continue. So it's very important on some courses especially to not drop a BLG. Thankfully, there's actually very minimal RNG within this game. The most you'll run into is just maybe bumping a few cars on the road. But primarily, the RNG all comes down to the big races and whether or not the other, like 10, 20 cars will bump into you or not, and pretty much just ruin your whatever lap that you're on, or essentially make you drop a BLG. Now, as tempting as it might seem to try and do the BLG here, it's actually not worth it, and there's not really a reliable spot to do it. And it's pretty fast to just go around and do this course normally. You just want to do it optimally and hang around the bend and do a power slide into the yellow marker that's right here, and you'll fly around the course pretty well.
Ciao.
So this course has a very specific way to do the BLG. The best way that I found is to do one wrong way and ride the out of bounds until you reach the end of that road, and then do the final wrong way into the last section. You only have to do this 2 times, and then once you reach the 3rd lap, you just have to do one wrong way and then just ride the out of bounds, and it automatically finishes. So this is another course example that has a short 3rd lap.
I love being me.
So the next thing to note about this game is that using the fast travels are definitely very optimal. They tend to place you directly next to the continuing objective, which is very helpful.
McQueen passes another. You know he always runs well at this track.
So this first race really, well, first big race is not too much to worry about. You essentially just have to do the BLG just right past the starting line. So it's very simple, and there's enough room on the track to avoid any of the oncoming cars. But in the later big races, this can become increasingly difficult, and you have to use different maneuvers or take a lot of short stops just to avoid getting bumped.
Or just room for improvement. And Banks is in the wall, but seems all right. He's gonna continue. Something's gotta be wrong with McQueen. He's getting past. Looks like trouble for number 95. He's falling
So
back.
this is a very good point to mention, that this game particularly, the controls are not very well optimized, and as far as the bugs and glitches within this game, at random points, depending on how you roll over your keys, you can just lose complete control of your car, like just out of nowhere. I noticed when I was briefly watching Uial's run that he would just randomly spin out, and I'd be like, oh, that kind of doesn't make sense. Like, for him to just do a complete like 90-degree turn instead of just a little flick here and there, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And it wasn't until that I started experiencing it that I realized that I guess when you press like 2 or 3 different keys at the same time, the turning just locks, and whatever the last direction that you pressed, whether it's just a neutral backwards or left or right, it just starts continuously going. And other times it'll just like continuously hold on the gas, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's very strange. Some of the ways I found to fix it is just by hitting different buttons like the power slide, the boost, and trying to jump in place, and I sometimes am able to gain control back. But for the most part, I'm very careful about how I press my keys on different turns, because I really am just trying to avoid this glitch.
And a change up in positions for number 95. Yeah. Something's gotta be wrong with McQueen. He's getting past. Number back a spot.
Hey, ready to go racing?
At ease, soldier.
Hey.
So Fillmore's BLG is pretty simple. You just have to back up for the first lap and then make it past the starting line for the remaining 2. There are no short laps here, and you now have access to using the boost, which makes doing the wrong ways a lot easier, and you're able to cover more distance with them. Granted, it does provide more of a risk if you're not used to spacing out your emergency brake, but it definitely saves a few seconds on each lap.
Hey, guys, what can I say? Winning's my destiny.
So,
For the Desert Dash, the first lap is just backing up, and then the next 2 laps, you have to back up all the way until you basically touch the oil sign. But the way the wrong ways are essentially set up, whether you do long or short ones or a combination of the two, is that you pretty much end up just boosting right past it. This makes doing the BLG a lot safer compared to some of the other strats. You also notice that there are some stalls on doing the reverse, and that's because depending on what track, whether you're boosting or not, or if you just get teleported, sometimes it'll lock up the controls, as I mentioned earlier, and you have to continuously hit your S key in order for the reverse symbol to trigger and you to be able to actually reverse.
you were scheduled to be here at...
So the BLG for Sarge's first course, you pretty much just have to reach the curve of this wall. Now coming up as soon as you finish, you do not have to do the next training courses for the any percent with glitches. You just have to start it and then quit out, and then you're able to move on to the next race. So the BLG for the Sarge race, instead of the training course, is that you want to just make sure you safely set up next to the barrels and then boost right around this picket fence here. And you want to try and keep a balance between the dirt and the road, otherwise you enter a very laggy place. Like, the game just doesn't expect you to be at the back of the course this early in the lap or the race, and it just loses you like 30 seconds because it will successfully trigger the BLG, but it will just completely take way too long. And for the third lap, you just have to do one backup and then just hover along the dirt road on the left side.
It was an honor to beat you.
So you notice right here that you can use the radiator cap teleport to put yourself right next to Mac, but you have to factor in starting the race, quitting out, loading times, and it essentially is just faster to drive straight over here. So this is where the difficulty starts to pick up a little bit in terms of the big races and using the BLG. For this speedway, it's just making it past the starting line, but once the cars start to kind of come around the bend and start piling up, you have to make sure that you're really hovering against the wall and that you use good positioning if you're doing a fresh teleport and they're right on your ass. Otherwise, you're going to get bumped around, thrown out of bounds, or essentially drop your BLG, which would be really bad. Because dropping a BLG on a big race loses you a lot of time. It's a lot of distance that you have to back up. And you don't want to do the lap the regular way on some of these bigger courses, because that would just be slower than trying to fix your BLG. Also, another thing that you'll notice is that when you successfully do BLGs in a fast succession, that you trigger the majority of cars to enter a very slow state. Some of them will only be moving at like 10 to 20 miles per hour, and then some of the lead cars will just continue to maintain their normal pace. So I tend to see this around 4 to 6 BLGs in a row successfully. And you'll just see the entire pack moving like a snail, and it makes it a lot easier to maneuver around them.
And a change up in positions for number 95. McQueen's out of the groove and losing a position. McQueen is trying to make something happen, but it looks like it's only getting worse. Looks like trouble for number 95. He's falling back.
And yet another example of the game controls just being absolutely fucked based on pressing multiple keys at the same time.
Yes. Oh, I'm faster than fast.
Wow, look at that.
One for the ladies.
Over. Keeping cool, Sharon?
So this is actually one of the hardest BLGs to pull off. Like, a lot of runners miss this quite a lot. Yeah, I lied. It's actually the freest thing in the run.
Ooh.
Ka-chow. Ch-ch-chow.
So this is easily my least favorite race because Mater's handling is just absolutely terrible. And he obviously doesn't have much natural speed, which is understandable. But trying to maneuver around bad RNG with some of the cars can be just absolutely terrible. You can lose a lot of time just based on where the cars are around the track and if they'll bump you as you go over that jump. And the main thing that you want to worry about is just the start of the race and trying to get ahead of the pack as quick as you can. Because once you're ahead of the pack, everything starts going smooth again. But until you're in front of everybody, it just can really suck. And fuck this guy in particular. Now, I guess it would be important to note that you can do a BLG on this track, but it's simply just not worth it because not getting yourself ahead of the pack as soon as you can will definitely hurt you more than the BLG will help you. But you would only want to do one BLG because otherwise you'll just lose time and risk losing the race, which is obviously a run killer.
Look at me! Holy shoot! Look out, here I come! Look at me! Oh. Gone. Woo-hoo! That gone. Ooh, yeah. Whoa, where'd that come from? Woo, now this here's a party. Woo-hoo! That gone. It don't get any better than this. Y'all looking at this? Look out! Hey, watch the paint job, would you? Another dance. I can buff it out. Woo! Now this here's a party. Woo! Now this here's a party. Woo! That's gone. Oh, I see you trying to win this thing, ain't you? Look at me. Another dance. I can buff it out. Well, dadgum. Go.
So the BLG for this course is fairly simple. You want to make sure that you stop specifically on the starting line because that's the correct amount of distance you will go backwards for in order to trigger the BLG. If you do not do that, it'll risk the chance of missing it because the zone is very specific in distance. And this is the safest way or safest setup that I have found to trigger this BLG, which makes it very easy.
Hey, buddy. Ready when you... Whoa! Hey!
Now, the Sun Valley race is the absolute worst of all the big races combined because the track is so narrow and there are so many cars. It is very difficult to do the BLG past 3 or 4 laps because you'll have very little room to maneuver around them, or depending on the RNG, you'll just get bumped into oblivion. So I managed to make 4 laps by just pure chance that I decided to take for some reason. But if if the RNG had been any different, I definitely would have gotten destroyed by that pack based on the setup of it. So I'll get 4 laps here, and then I'll decide to race around the track as normal. And you could kind of gauge whether you need to do a normal lap versus a BLG based on the setup of the cars. If there's an opening, then obviously you could do a BLG. If there isn't, then it's obviously safer to just do a traditional lap.
Medicated bumper ointment. That's Rusty's.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I did forget to mention that when you do the BLG and get teleported, you have a few moments of invincibility where cars will pass straight through you. So you definitely want to use this to your advantage.
Some wrecks here today.
So right there, my controls locked up. However, I did notice that the pattern of cars that were coming was very sketchy, so I just opted to do a traditional lap. But it's really unfortunate when the controls seize up and you aren't able to successfully do a certain strategy because of this. So it's definitely good to have some backup strats handy.
That adjustment Banks made to his spoiler is paying off. He's glued to the track and really making up some time.
See ya.
Oh, one thing that's really important to mention is that when you hit a car, your wrong way disappears. So if you're on the final stretch, or even if you're just in the middle of doing it, it can really throw you off if you get hit and then the wrong way stops, and then your rhythm just gets completely fucked, or you don't make, or you pretty much will lose another 3 seconds if you're on the final, wrong way, because you have to wait for the timer to re-tick down again. So again, right there, there wasn't a sketchy pattern, but the controls just kept locking up, and I was getting really frustrated at this point because I would have had a really good Sun Valley race, probably the best that I'd ever done. But it's really unpredictable why some of the controls lock up, and that time I was especially upset because I was being so careful not to overlap keys, but it still just locked up the controls regardless. So the BLG for this course is very specific. You want to stop right before the dirt road next to the tree as you're cutting through this section here. That way you maintain the full out of bounds without wasting any of it. And once you do this, you have to line with the tree specifically on the right side. And yet another example of the controls locking up for no reason.
Snot.
Hey, look at this. Ka-chow!
Hey, hotshot.
Hiya, hands.
And pretty much all of the one-lap races, there is no BLG for it, and trust me, I searched long and wide and tried every angle you could possibly do with every maneuver, and you just aren't able to do a BLG in some of these courses. But what it comes down to on these courses is pretty much just doing a regular optimized race and trying to go around the corners as best as possible and using boost in the most optimal way.
One for the ladies. Who's bad? I'm bad. One for the ladies. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow!
Ooh. Oh yeah.
So coming up here, you have to enter this turn in a very, very specific angle because there's a little bit of invisible walls that kind of bump you out of the way of taking that shortcut. However, it's not too much of a time loss. It's fairly even, but it's slightly faster to go straight through the air because you just maintain your momentum.
Who's bad? I'm bad. Hey, look at this. Ka-chow.
For you. I find the
So the BLG for this course is you just go along this road until you see a pile of leaves that's coming up, and you pretty much just need to meet the leaves at least in order to trigger the BLG.
And how do you like this maneuver?
Oh, why you gotta be like that? I love being me.
What? You hit me!
One for the fans.
The BLG here is pretty simple. You just need to back up into these mines, and Make sure that you do good spacing, otherwise you might come short.
Okay.
Hey, you.
Some of the courses during the run overlap, so it's literally just the same exact strategies as you would use before, except that when you do some of the later Grand Prix races, you just have less laps to deal with.
Hey, Vince, over here. Look it. Yeah.
Lightning McQueen is quicker than quick. I forgot to tell you, chick.
So, the few things that I mentioned about the thug races is that you might have to adjust your camera angle so you aren't just completely blocked off by the retarded body shapes of the cars, and that for the most part the traffic patterns are decently predictable, but it is still RNG. You want to squeeze in between cars rather than using the dirt road, because the dirt roads make you immediately spin out and just lose a ton of your speed. So it's much better to crash into a car than take the dirt road by far.
Hey, that guy's crazy. Hey, what is he doing?
Hey, what are you doing? Oh, you're an awful car.
You need to slow down.
What are you, nuts? Whoa!
What in the world?
What's the matter with you? Are you crazy? Whoa! What's the matter with you? Are you crazy?
Interesting thing to note about this part specifically is that no matter what you do, you have to wait until it finishes stopping you, like in place, and then your boost fills up to full before you can initiate the jump.
Hey, get out of my way. Where'd you learn to drive?
Watch it! And stay in your own lane! Hey! Watch where you're going!
So the pattern that the boxes fall out in is RNG, whether it sways left or right, or how many objects come out first before the box. I've seen 3 come out in a row, and I've also seen 4 objects come out before the box of supplies comes out, so this part definitely is a bit of RNG.
Got the goods!
Sheriff.
Yeah, wrong way. Hello?
So I would say this is one of the more frustrating races that you do that doesn't use the BLG. Well, pretty much just event, I guess you could say. And it's because they have a decently predictable path that they'll take, but sometimes they just swerve completely off the road and then they'll bump like 3 cars, and they have a lot more impact than you do. So they'll send a car completely flying and you could just lose all of your momentum. And then they'll zip ahead at crazy speeds or slow down at ridiculous speeds. And the transition between each character can be really it could be really slow. Sometimes it'll take forever to get in front of you, and then other times they'll just keep bumping into things. But for the most part, you just want to predict what the best route for you to drive in is, and then kind of, merge that with predicting their pattern. For the most part, they're going to go for whatever the opening is on the road, but if they recently hit a car, the pattern is going to be a little bit off and they might sway off the road. But that's pretty much all the knowledge that you would have for trying to do this bit of the run optimally.
Ow! Ow! You're scratching my flank! Ow!
You.
Ow! Do that!
Are you believing this?
You're going the wrong way!
You need to slow down. Did you see that? They hit me. Yeah, wrong way. Hello?
I love being me.
Aw, man!
Hey, IDO, but
Come on, I'm ready.
So this is the only big race that you do where you're only going to do the BLG one time. It does save a decent amount of time to do it this one time. Otherwise, you're going to be driving around the track as normally because it's faster to do it that way.
On that last pit stop, number 30 asked for half a pound out of the right rear and to get squeegee. Apparently, he's been driving with some bugs on the windshield. McQueen passes another. You know, he always runs well at this track.
Now, there is a bit of chance for you to randomly lose this race
won't hurt a
based
bit.
on the AI getting a
Yes,
really
sir,
weird
he
speed
sure
glitch.
knows his way around the
But
track.
for the most part,
He's
you can
picking
stop
them
it
off
just
one
by
at a time.
hanging left the entire time. So you're pretty much just trying to hover on the very left edge. Just trust in the edge and you'll be fine.
And Medford right into the wall. He seems all right. He'll keep on racing. Woo-wee! He passed another. Can anyone stop lightning? He's picking them off one at a time.
You again. Bye.
Well, they say lightning never strikes twice, but those cars out there will tell you different.
You never know where lightning will strike. I love being me.
McQueen's definitely in the zone. Just look at his determination. McQueen is looking to make a move real quick here.
This won't hurt a bit.
Here comes Lightning McQueen. Just look at him moving aside. Fighting through the pack, it's number 95, Lightning McQueen. McQueen is looking to make a move real quick here.
Ooh, I got a donut.
McQueen's definitely in the zone. Just look at his determination.
Don't feel bad. You've been passed by the best.
Fighting through the pack, it's number 95, Lightning McQueen.
Ciao.
Well, we're just moments away from... Radio, buddy-o.
So the BLG here is the same as last time. You just back up toward the last set of cones in between the third and fourth, and then on the second lap you do one backup and into the dirt.
Hey, guys, what can I say? Winning's my destiny.
Yo, loser! Welcome to race.
Right, so for this race you are going to notice that it is a one lap race, which means the BLG does not work here. So this is just purely track optimization and just trying to have good boost management.
Ciao. One for the ladies. One for the fans. Ooh.
It's also an important thing to note that in most cases, using boost at the max speed is not always beneficial. You mainly want to hold on to it for recoveries like this one, or if you know that you have a really long straightaway and enough recovery time to where you will be able to have access to boost for emergencies. But other than that, if you're at max speed, you don't really need to use it. And the reason I avoided that jump there is that I want to be on the ground as soon as possible to continue maintaining momentum and to start using the nitro.
Oh, yeah.
And I've also had way too many glitches with trying to hop over that jump and then the car just completely goes flying. Just absolute crash and burn. You also notice that throughout some parts of the run, using the two-wheel is actually better for doing some tight turns or just reducing your speed just enough to maintain a long stretch of a turn.
Ooh. Hey! And we're here at the...
BLG is once again the same thing as before.
I love being me.
Hey, Heidi-o, buddy.
So the Los Angeles big race is arguably one of the harder big races to do, probably at second hardest compared to Sun Valley's RNG. But you have to do a balance between spacing correctly to trigger the BLG, but also when you're trying to control your movement, you can't go past the white line on the right here, because if you go in this section that pretty much looks like a bicycle lane, you will start to trigger the out of bounds, and even though you don't fully complete the out of bounds, which is about 3 seconds, it can still ruin your BLG by a significant amount, because there's this weird thing with triggering a wrong way in an out of bounds where it makes the other timer tick twice as fast. So if I'm 1.5 out of 3 seconds into the wrong way and I trigger an out of bounds, it immediately finishes the wrong way. And if I'm not far enough to successfully trigger the BLG, then I basically just screw myself on this race and I send myself really far forward. So you want to be really safe with your spacing, dodging the cars, and making sure that you don't spin into the little bicycle lane here, because it can be very difficult to manage your wrong way and use the out of bounds for distance. It's pretty much just really unsafe.
Hollister passes Bashman to move up a position. Something's definitely going on with number 95. Looks like trouble for number 95. He's falling back. McQueen's out of the groove and losing a position. Remember, fans, easy idle makes waking up easy. Easy idle, a warm start to a cold morning. That's what I'm talking about. Medford passes Lee Jr. to move up a position. Uh-oh, Lightning's slipping behind. He better get back on it. It's a shame he's not having a better run today. Number 58 was fast in qualifying. Uh-oh, Lightning's slipping behind. He better get back on it. See ya. Looks like trouble for number 95. He's falling back. McQueen is falling off the pace.
So this was an instance where I triggered a wrong way in and out of bounds, and I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely safe enough to where I would get the BLG successfully.
I love being me.
You be careful out there, son.
Ah, come on, Doc. I'm a veteran of the road now. A seasoned traveler.
You still don't have headlights.
Don't you worry, Doc. I'll take care of it.
And if he gets stuck again?
I'm not gonna get stuck.
Well,
World record! Let's go. Fuck this game. Alright. Now that I have mastered the first one, I will have to do a few runs of the second one, and then the trifecta will be on the way. Alright. And that is the Cars 1 speedrun.
Ooh, I almost forgot. Did you pack your trophy?
Nah,
Where is it?
don't worry. It's in a good place.